The following presentation is best experienced with headphones.
Hello, honored guests. Welcome. Today, the Circle will be meeting in the library. If you follow me, I will... Oh, Lady Morgana, are you going somewhere?
Yes, Nemo. Please give my apologies to Emrys and the others. The Blue Fairy has lost one of her charges in the ocean, and she urgently needs my help. I really must run.
Of course I will tell them. Now, as I was saying, please follow me, honored guests. As chaotic as it seems, it does warm my heart to see so many members of the Circle coming and going to interact with all the realms. Why, in times past, believe it or not, it wasn't unusual to have 2, 3, or even 4 simultaneous meetings of Circle members going on. This one discussing the literary merits of animal stories, that one staging a play, another gathering around the Scaldric Flame, and so on and so forth. Lately, I have been feeling hope that we might get there again, but those are musings for another time. We have arrived. Excuse me while I give Lady Morgana's regrets to the Circle. Pardon me. I regret to inform you that Lady Morgana has been called away. She will not be joining you.
Greetings, honored guests, and welcome. Thank you for letting us know, Nemo.
Of course.
Do not mind us, honored guests. We were just reminiscing about old times.
We certainly shared some good memories.
Yes, we did, before the two of you vanished entirely without any trace.
I do apologize for my part. I hadn't realized how deeply in the Fey realms I had wandered. Before Elias found me and inspired me to return.
I, for my part, was well aware of how deep in the Fey realms I was. But I must admit, I had no thought of returning until my condition worsened. Then, I came back to consult you and Lady Morgana, but to my surprise it was Lona who was able to help me. This is why having trustworthy members of the Circle is so important.
But you do admit that it was a new member that was able to help you.
Gentlemen, let's not start up that argument again. Not when it is just the 3 of us here.
Yes, we haven't the time for it at any rate.
Yes, my friend. I do believe I see the crackle of a story on those flames.
The
fire burns bright,
with stories ever knowing.
Ah, wonderful. We're going back to ancient Greece for a continuation of Homer's epic poem.
The Odyssey.
Oh, I do hope that Odysseus is finally able to return home, honored guests.
Odysseus had been absent for so long that now suitors wanted to take the hand of Penelope, his wife.
This troubled Penelope, who was ever loyal to Odysseus, and did not know what to do to warn the suitors away.
Penelope sent a silent plea to the gods many nights.
Please, help me. I know Odysseus will return, and I cannot willfully attend one of these suitors.
Athena then placed a thought inside the heart of wise Penelope. She whispered,
Penelope, my daughter, you should set up in Odysseus's halls the bow and gray iron axes for the suitors, as a competition and prelude to their deaths.
Penelope climbed the lofty staircase to her upper rooms, picked up in her firm grip a curved key made of bronze, and with her attendants she went off to a storeroom.
As Penelope went, she thought,
Here they keep the bronze and gold and iron, all finely crafted work. Odysseus's well-sprung bow must be there too.
She was right, for there the bow was.
And quivers too.
With many death-dealing arrows.
And presents he had received from Iphitus, his friend, son of Eurytus. One of these gifts was the bow.
Penelope remembered when Odysseus told her the story.
Iphitus and I had both lost livestock. We were searching in Messenia when we found each other and found common ground in our missing cattle.
And then?
We exchanged gifts. I gave to him a sharp sword and a mighty spear, and he gifted me the bow.
Earlier, this weapon belonged to mighty Eurytus, who, when he died, left it to his son.
This was the start of their close friendship.
Iphitus gave me that bow of his, but we never bonded as mutual guest friends. Before that could take place, Hercules had murdered Iphitus, a godlike man.
Odysseus did not take the bow whenever he set off in his black ships to fight. It lay there in his home as a memorial to a dear friend and for his use in Ithaca.
When fair Penelope came to the storage room, she swiftly took the looped thong from its hook, put in the key, and with a push shoved back the bolt.
The door creaked as it quickly swung ajar.
I clambered up onto the planking where we kept the storage trunks in which we stowed our fragrant clothing.
There she stretched to take the bow in its bright case down from its peg. Then she sat down,
placed the bow case across her knees, and wept.
As I took out my husband's bow, I only wished fervently that he were here, with me.
When she had had enough of her laments and tears, she went down to the hall to join the noble suitors.
Penelope held in her hands the well-sprung
bow and quiver,
with many
pain-inflicting arrows, and with her came some attendants carrying in a chest lots of iron and bronze, her husband's battle gear.
Once the lovely lady reached the suitors, she stood beside the doorpost of the well-constructed hall, with a bright veil covering her face. Then Penelope addressed the suitors.
Listen to me, bold suitors, who've been ravaging this home with your incessant need for food and drink, now that my husband has been away so long. The only story you could offer up as an excuse is that you all desire to marry me and take me as your wife. So, come now, suitors, since I seem to be the prize you seek, I shall place this great bow here, a weapon that belonged to brave Odysseus. Whichever one of you can grip this bow and string it with the greatest ease, then shoot an arrow through 12 axes, all of them, I'll go with him, leaving my married home, this truly lovely house, and all these goods one needs for living, things I'll remember even in my dreams.
When she'd said this, she turned and told an attendant,
Please set the bow and iron axes for the suitors.
With tears in their eyes, attendants took the weapons and laid them out.
Philotius, the goatherd, was weeping too in another spot, once he saw his master's bow.
Then Antinous, the leader of the suitors, addressed them both with this reproach.
You foolish bumpkins, who only think of what's going on today. What a wretched pair. Why start weeping now? Why stir the heart inside the lady's chest? Her spirit lies in pain now that she's lost the man she loves. So sit and eat in silence, or go outside and weep. Leave the bow here. The contest will decide among the suitors. I don't think it will be an easy feat to string that polished bow. Of all men here, no one is like Odysseus used to be. I saw him for myself, and I remember, though at the time I was a little child.
In his chest, however, his heart was hoping he would string the bow, and with it shoot an arrow through the iron.
But in fact, he would be the first to taste an arrow from brave Odysseus's hands, the very man he was disgracing shamefully as he sat in the hall inciting all his friends.
But then, among them all, Telemachus spoke out with royal authority.
Well now, Zeus, son of Cronos, must have made me foolish. My dear mother, although quite sensible, says she'll be leaving with another man, abandoning this home, and I just laugh. My witless heart finds that enjoyable. So come, suitors, since your prize seems to be a woman who throughout Achaean land has no equal, Not in sacred Pylos, Argos, Mycenae, or on the mainland, or in Ithaca itself. But you know this, so I do not need to praise my mother. Come on now. Do not delay this contest with excuses or use up too much time diverting your attention from this bow.
Let us begin. You will see who Penelope will go with.
Then we'll see. I might try the bow myself. If I can string it and shoot an arrow through the iron, I won't get so upset when my royal mother has to leave here with another man. I'd be left behind as someone capable of picking up my father's prizes in competition.
As he said this, Telemachus quickly threw off the purple cloak covering his back, then jumped up and removed the sharp sword hanging from his shoulders.
I set up the axes by digging out a trench, one lengthy ditch for all of them, in a straight line. Then I trampled down the earth flat around them.
Amazement gripped the suitors as they looked at Telemachus and watched how he aligned those axes properly, though before then he had never even seen them.
Then, going and standing in the threshold, he tried to test the bow.
3 times I made it tremble as I strove to bend it, and 3 times I relaxed.
He was hoping in his heart he'd string that bow and shoot an arrow through the iron.
On his 4th attempt, as his power bent the bow, he might have strung it. But Penelope shook her head, signaling him to stop for all his eagerness.
Telemachus spoke out, addressing them once more with royal authority.
Well, I suppose I'll remain a coward. A weak man, too, in future days, or else I'm still too young, and cannot rely on my own strength to guard me from a man who gets angry with me first. But, come now, you men who are more powerful than me, test this bow. Let's end this competition.
Once he said this, Telemachus placed the bow down on the ground away from him, leaning it against the polished panels of the door.
And set a swift arrow there beside the bow's fine tip, then sat down in the chair where he had been before.
Then Antinous addressed them.
All you suitors, get up in order now, from left to right, beginning from the place where the steward pours the wine.
What he had proposed they found agreeable. The first to stand was Leodes, son of Onyps, their soothsayer.
He always sat furthest away, beside the lovely mixing bowl, the only one who opposed their recklessness. It made him angry at the entire crowd of suitors.
That was the man who first picked up the bow and the swift arrow. After moving to the threshold and standing there, he tried the bow, and Leodes thought,
I cannot string it. My hands, which were quite feeble, grew weary before I could succeed in hooking up the string.
He then spoke out among the suitors.
My friends, I'm not the man to use this bow. So now, let someone else take hold of it. This bow will take away from many fine young men their lives and spirits, since it's far better to die than live and fail in the attempt than what we have gathered here to get, remaining here in hope day after day. Now every man has feelings in his heart. He desires and hopes to wed Penelope, Odysseus' wife. But when he's tried this bow and observed what happens, then let him woo another of Achaea's well-dressed women, seeking to win her with his bridal gifts, and that Penelope can wed the man who offers her the most, whose fate it is to be her husband.
When Leodes had finished, he set the bow beside him, leaning it against the polished panels of the door, and placing with it a swift arrow by the tip.
Then he sat down again where he had been sitting, but Antinous took issue with what he had said, talking directly to him.
Leodes, that speech that passed the berry of your teeth, what wretched sorry words. As I listened, it made me angry, as if this bow would in fact take away the lives and spirits of the very finest men just because you could not string it.
Those are your own thoughts, Antinous.
Listen, your royal mother did not produce in you the sort of man who has sufficient strength to draw a bow and shoot an arrow. But some other men among these noble suitors will succeed.
This said, Antinous called out to Melanthius, the goatherd.
Come now, Melanthius. Light a fire in the hall. Set a large chair in front of it and spread a fleece across. Then fetch a hefty piece of fat. There's some inside the house, so that these young men here can warm the bow and rub grease into it, then test the bow and end this competition.
Once Antinous said this, Melanthius soon did all that he had ordered. So then the young men warmed the bow and tested it.
But they could not string it. Whatever strength they had was far too little.
The cattle herder and the keeper of the swine belonging to godlike Odysseus had gone out both together, and a hooded figure left the palace, walking through the yard, and followed them.
For this figure, cloaked so as not to see who they were, had been watching the competition play out.
When they had passed beyond the courtyard and the gates, the figure called to the cattle herder and keeper of the swine with reassuring words.
You there, cattleman and swineherd. Shall I tell you something or keep it to myself?
Tell us.
I will, for my spirit tells me I should speak to you. If Odysseus were to come back suddenly, brought from somewhere by a god, would you two be the sort of men who would defend him? Would you support the suitors or Odysseus? Answer as your heart and spirit prompt you.
Then the cattle herder answered him.
O Father Zeus, would that you might fulfill this very wish. May that man come, and led on by some god. Then you would know the kind of strength I have, and how my hands can demonstrate my power.
And then the swine-keeper said,
By the gods, more power could we see Odysseus home once more. Would that were true.
Once the hooded figure had clearly seen how resolute they were, he spoke to them again, saying these words.
Well, here I am in person. After suffering much distress, I've come home, back in the 20th year to my own land. Of those who work for me, I recognize that you're the only two who want me back. Among the rest, I've heard no one praying that my return would bring me home again.
Odysseus! We must go tell the others.
I'll tell you both how this is going to end, and I'll speak the truth. If, on my behalf, some god will overcome those noble suitors, I'll provide you both with possessions and a house built near my own. Then you'll be my companions, and kinsmen of Telemachus. Come, I'll show you something, a sign, so you will clearly know it's me and trust me in your hearts. Here's the old scar I got from a boar's white tusk on a visit to Parnassus with Autolycus' sons.
As he said this, Odysseus pulled aside his rags, exposing the great scar. Once those two had seen it and noted every detail, they both threw their arms around the wise Odysseus, bursting into tears.
It is you!
Oh, welcome home.
Welcome back!
Odysseus kissed their heads and hands. Those men would have kept on weeping until sunset if Odysseus had not called a halt, saying to them,
Stop these laments. Let's have no more crying. Someone might come out from the hall, see us, and tell people in the house. Let's go in, one by one, not all at once. I'll go first, you come later, and let's make this our sign. All those other men, the noble suitors, will not allow the quiver and the bow to be given to me. But Eumaeus.
Yes, Odysseus?
As you carry that bow around the hall, put it in my hands and tell the women to lock their room. Bolt the close-fitting doors. If any of them hears the noise of men groaning or being hit inside our walls, she's to stay quiet, working where she is and not run off outside. Now, as for you, Philotius.
Yes?
I want you to lock the courtyard gates. Bolt and lash them shut. Do it quickly.
Yes, sir.
After he said this, Odysseus went back into the hall and sat down on the stool where he had been sitting. The two men, godlike Odysseus' servants, went in after him.
Eurymachus, the second leader of the suitors, already had the bow in hand, warming it here and there in light from the hot fire.
But even doing that, he could not string the bow. Then his courageous heart gave out a mighty groan, and he spoke to them directly. He was angry.
It's too bad. I'm frustrated for myself and for you all. I am not that unhappy about the marriage, though I am upset. But if we are so weak compared to the godlike Odysseus that we can't string his bow, it's a disgrace which men will learn about in years to come.
Antinous answered him and said,
Eurymachus, that's not going to happen, as you yourself well know. At this moment in the country there's a feast day, sacred to the god. So, who would bend the bow? No, set it aside without saying a thing. As for the axes, what if we let them just remain there? I don't think anyone will come into the home of Odysseus and carry them away. Come now, let the steward begin to pour wine in the cups so we can make libations. Put the curved bow down, and in the morning, tell the goat herder to bring in the finest goats by far from all the herds, so we can set out pieces of the thigh for the famous archer god Apollo. Then we'll test the bow and end the contest.
Antinous finished. They were pleased with what he said.
Heralds poured water on their hands, and young men filled the mixing bowls up to the brim with drink, and served them all, pouring a few drops into the cups to start the ritual.
Once they'd poured libations and drunk wine to their heart's content, Odysseus, a crafty man who had a scheme in mind, spoke out.
Suitors of the splendid queen, listen to me, so I can say what the heart here in my chest is prompting me to state. It's a request, a plea, especially to Eurymachus and godlike Antinous, since what he said was most appropriate. For the moment you should postpone this business with the bow and turn the matter over to the gods. In the morning a god will give the strength to whoever he desires. But come now, give me the polished bow, so in this hall I can test these hands of mine and find out if my supple limbs still possess the strength they used to have, or if my wandering and my lack of food have quite destroyed it.
Odysseus finished. They were extremely angry, fearing that a stranger might string this polished bow. So Lord Antinous, addressing him directly, took Odysseus to task.
You wretched stranger, your mind lacks any sense. You've none at all. Aren't you content to share a feast with us? Such noble men, without being disturbed or lacking any food, and to listen to the words we speak to one another? No other stranger listens in on what we say. The wine, so honey-sweet, has injured you as it harms other men, who gulp it down and swallow far too much. And so I say, if you string the bow, you'll face great trouble. You'll never get gentle treatment anywhere, not in this land. We'll ship you off at once in a black ship over to King Echetus, who likes to kill and torture everyone. You won't escape from him, so drink your wine in peace and don't compete with younger men.
Wise Penelope then answered him and said,
Antinous, it's neither good nor proper to deny guests of Telemachus a chance, no matter who it is comes to this house. And if trusting in his strength and power, the stranger strings Odysseus's great bow, do you believe this man will take me home and make me his wife? I'm sure he himself bears no such hope inside that chest of his. So none of you should be at dinner here with sorrow in your heart because of him. That would be undignified.
Then Eurymachus answered her.
Wise Penelope, daughter of Icarius, we do not think this man will take you home. That would be wrong. But we would be ashamed by public gossip from both men and women if later on some base Achaean spoke of us like this. Those men wooing the wife of that fine man are far worse than him. They can't even string his polished bow. And yet another man, a beggar who came here on his travels, did so with ease and shot through the iron. That's what the men will say. And those words would be a disgrace on us.
Then wise Penelope replied,
Eurymachus, there is no way at all there will be in this district good reports of those dishonoring and eating up a noble's home. Why turn the matter now into a disgrace? This stranger's very large and strongly built. Furthermore, he maintains that by birth he comes from a good father. So, come now, offer him the polished bow, and let us see. I will say this to you, and it will happen, If he strings the bow and Apollo grants him glory, I'll dress him in some lovely clothes, a cloak and a tunic, and give him a sharp spear as a defense from dogs and men, as well as a fine sword and sandals for his feet. Then I'll send him wherever his heart and spirit prompt him.
Shrewd Telemachus then answered her.
Mother, among Achaeans, no man has a right stronger than my own to offer this bow to anyone I wish or withhold it. Among these men, no one will deny my will by force. If I wish to give the bow, even to the stranger as an outright gift to take away with him. But mother, you should go to your own rooms and keep busy with your proper duties. The bow will be a matter for us here, especially me, since power in this house is justly mine.
Penelope, astonished, went back to her chamber, taking to heart the prudent words her son had said.
With her attendants, she walked up to her room, and there wept for Odysseus.
Oh, my dear husband.
Bright-eyed Athena heard this and said,
Dear Penelope, weep no more, and find rest.
Athena cast sweet sleep on Penelope's eyes.
Meanwhile, the worthy swineherd had picked up the curving bow and was carrying it as Odysseus planned. But the suitors in the hall started shouting. Antinous then said,
What are you doing, you wretched swineherd, carrying that bow, you idiot? You'll soon be with the swine all alone, no one there, being eaten by those swift dogs you yourself have raised, if Lord Apollo and the other gods act with graciousness to us.
So, though the bow was in his hands, he put it down. He was afraid. So many men inside the hall were yelling at him. But then, from across the room, Telemachus shouted out a threat.
Old man, keep on moving up here with that bow, or else you may regret it. I'm younger than you, but I might force you out into the fields and throw rocks at you. I'm the stronger man. I wish my hands had the strength and power over all the suitors here. I would force some of them soon enough to leave this house and go back home. They would not be happy. The schemes they keep concocting are unjust.
The swineherd had kept on moving through the hall during this exchange, carrying the bow. He came to Odysseus and placed it in his hands.
With that, he moved to the chair where he had been before, sat down, and watched Odysseus with the bow.
He was turning it this way and that, testing it in different ways to see if, while its lord was gone, worms had nibbled on the horns.
One of the suitors, with a glance beside him, would say something like,
This man knows bows. He must be an expert. Either he has bows like this stored at home, or else he wants to make one. That is why he's turning it around in all directions. That stranger's really skilled in devious tricks.
And then another one of those arrogant young men would make some further comment.
Well, I hope the chance that this brings him some benefit matches his ability to string this bow.
That is how the suitors talked, but Odysseus, once he had raised the weapon and looked it over from every angle, then Odysseus strung the bow.
Holding it in his right hand, he tested the string. It sang out, resonating like a swallow's song beneath his touch.
Grief overwhelmed the suitors, and then Zeus gave out an ominous sign, a peal of thunder.
Then he picked up a swift arrow lying by itself on the table there beside him. He set it against the bow on the bridge, pulled the notched arrow and the bowstring back, still sitting in his seat, and with a sure aim,
let it fly! It did not miss, not even a single hole in all the axe heads. The arrow, weighted with bronze, sped straight on through and out the other end.
And at that point, Odysseus called out to his son,
Telemachus, the stranger sitting in your halls has not disgraced you. I did not miss my aim or work too long to string that bow. My strength is still intact in spite of all the suitors' scornful jibes. Now it's time to get a dinner ready for these Achaeans while there's still some light, then entertain ourselves in different ways with singing and the lyre. for these are things which should accompany a dinner feast.
As he spoke, he gave a signal with his eyebrows. Telemachus, godlike Odysseus's dear son, cinched his sword belt tight,
and closed his fist around a spear, moving in close beside his father, next to his seat, and stood there by him, fully armed with gleaming bronze.
The end.
Finally home, but he still has so many trials left to conquer. Will he ever find rest?
You see, Emrys, even the great Odysseus had to conquer trials to prove himself, even in his own house.
Now who is trying to start up the argument?
Fair enough.
Grandmaster Emrys?
Yes, Lottie, do you need something?
More like I have something for you. A letter from the traveler just arrived, though I would rather not say how it got here.
That sounds ominous, but I will take the letter, and you may take your leave and lie down. You look like you've seen a ghost.
More or less. Thank you, Grandmaster Emrys. I'll go now.
What does the traveler's message say?
Let us see. He writes, "My dear friends, I finally found someone amidst all this fog, though I almost wished that
He
I
was
had
the
not.
single most unpleasant spectre that I have ever heard of. A mean man bound head to toe in chains, lockboxes, safes, and innumerable other pieces of money-lender trade. It was clear that he had recently died, because he was as confused by his state as I was. He seemed to think that the fact that I could see him was some sign that I might have a power to help him, and I tried to insist to him that I didn't. Still, he kept pleading with me, insisting that he didn't deserve this, that he was a good man of business. All the while I could feel the weight of the people he had hurt. I could practically see their faces and hear their voices. In fact, the longer I stayed, the more I felt as if those strong chains were wrapping around me, and the more I began to almost recognize some of those voices crying out in pain. I am not proud of what I did next. I ran. I ran as if my life depended on it. All the while I was dodging what I soon realized were tombstones. I was in a graveyard that seemed to stretch on and on. The spectre that followed me could not move quickly, though, so I lost him in the fog. As I stood panting, leaning against a large stone, the fog cleared away from it, revealing words carved into the stone. I have included these words below. It was a poem by William Henley.
Invictus.
Out of the night that covers me,
Black is the pit from pole to pole.
I think whatever gods may be.
For my unconquerable soul, in the fell clutch of circumstance,
I have not winced nor cried aloud.
under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed.
Beyond this place of wrath and tears,
Looms but the horror of the shade,
and yet the menace of the years
finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate.
How charged with punishments the scroll.
I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I read the poem aloud, and as I did so I felt better, as if all the friends that I had made since I woke up at that cold crossroads were there with me. When I spoke the final words, the world around me broke, and I was sent spinning between the realms. Once again I didn't know where I am, and once again that isn't what concerns me most. This time my thoughts are fixed on that spectre, and on Ileana's reaction to me. Was I a man like he was? Is Ileana only one among many that I have hurt? If the answer to all these questions is yes, I can only hope, for his sake as much as for mine, that there is some chance of redemption for both of us.
Your friend, the traveler.
This traveler is certainly going through some trials now, is he not?
He is, but we have yet to see if he will conquer them.
Alas, we will not see that today.
Yes, my friends, I do believe I see the crackle of a story on those flames, but for next time.
The fire burns low, with stories ever glowing.
Worry not, honored guests. I believe the time is nearing that the traveler will need our help to return to us. As you leave us today, I will go and prepare so that we are ready to come to his aid.
We will see you soon, honored guests.
Honored guests, come, follow me, for you mustn't stay at our house for too long. I wonder if the traveler is becoming like me. I know of the spectre he spoke of. We spirits are able to find one another so much easier. Perhaps I could help find the traveler if he has indeed crossed over. But you must go. Stay close behind my guests, and whatever you do, don't answer any voices you may hear on the way out. Oh, but do come back. Hearing the Circle's stories brings me to life.
You have been listening to The House of Branching Paths, a theatrical podcast experience brought to you by Round 2 Productions, created by Mark Kilmer and Caroline Miller, with special guest Creighton Markovich as the voice of Odysseus, and featured artists Kimmy Kidd, Bill Blanky, April Sita, Justin Panachia Shimza, Jamie Chandler, George Dorr, Joshua Towers, and Katie Bailey, with music by Elegy. For even more content, join us on our Patreon, or for more stories like these, be sure to visit your local library. Thank you for joining us, honored guests, and remember, the fire may burn low, but the stories are ever glowing.